balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. And I am your host, Rick. That sounded a little more raspy than I had intended, but that's okay. All right, folks. Well, you know, we end out the week. We've got a little bit more of Cash Patel for tonight on tap. Also, too, we have a little bit more information, not a lot, but a little bit more information about that tragedy over the Potomac there. And yeah, we'll get into that here, too. Plus, I have an announcement for all of you. I have, and I'll get to that here in just a minute also. But first, let's go ahead and get, let's go ahead and get the Pledge of Allegiance being led tonight by Ms. T of Tex. That's Texas. Ms. T of Texas. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, and make sure to place your hand over your heart. And we will, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Ms. T of Texas in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, Ms. T of Tex, also known as Tommy over on Facebook, for sending in that pledge. If you would like to hear your version of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge in your style and make sure that you send it to me. I don't care if it's a audio file or video file. I mean, I'll do what I need to do with it. But go ahead and send it on in. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. Oh, Tommy just popped in over on Facebook. And you just missed yourself. Anyway, all right, folks, let's go ahead and get things kicked off with tonight's headline sponsor, theflagshirt.com. I wear their shirts on almost every single program. I wear their cotton polo shirts. Fantastic fit, wonderful bright colors, and great styles, all patriotic, run by a veteran. It is a veteran-owned, veteran-run organization out of, I believe it's out of Florida. But anyway, go to theflagshirt.com. And right now they have a President's Day sale going on where you can get up to 50% off select styles. Go to theflagshirt.com and click that shop now button, and you'll be able to see what they have available for you. And I know, as always, that theflagshirt.com has free shipping if you order $75 or more of their gear. However, not everybody wants to purchase $75 or more, or even can afford $75 or more of shirts. So, in order to help you out, I have put together a special offer for you. All you need to do is head off to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. Get yourself $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Get that coupon code, copy it, paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order. And don't forget, head on over to theflagshirt.com and check out their President's Day sale where you can get up to 50% off their clothing. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. So I have a bit of an announcement to make, and this is, of course, in particular towards those of you who are my Whiskey Warrior P1s and would like to get some information from me delivered directly to your inbox, especially on nights where I may have to do like a quick, gotta bow out kind of deal. So you can get it right to your inbox. I have it actually functional. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I have it functional. I have the thing working on the website. So if you would like to join in the American Perspective newsletter, all you need to do, so let's see, where is it? Where is it? Ah, here we go. Whoop, wrong one. Right here. Go to AmericanPerspective.online. Go to AmericanPerspective.online. Okay. And when you go there, wait about 5 seconds. You'll get this pop-up box that you see on your screen right now. And if you enter your email and your name and click join now, you will join the email subscription list for the American Perspective newsletter. Now, I'm not entirely 100% sure, what I'm necessarily going to do with this. I hope that maybe I'll put together like a weekly thing with, tidbits about the Constitution or some other stuff, maybe some stuff that I don't cover on the show, those kinds of things. Or maybe I'll put together, there's some certain things that are running along in terms of, there's certain stuff that like I can put in, say, for an example, private emails on private videos on Rumble, and share out the link or whatever. So yeah, if you want to, I'm not saying you have to, but if you want, well, of course I can't really make you do anything. But if you want to, all you have to do is go over to AmericanPerspective.online, wait about 5 seconds, and the pop-up should show up, and look like what you see on your screen right now. Just fill in the email and your name and click join now, and that'll add your line or your subscription to the American Perspective newsletter. Like I said, this is a brand new venture for me, so I don't know what I'm going to do, but I figure it's going to be a lot easier than trying to run off to all of the socials and like put out, a massive social blast, although I'll probably still do that in case something comes up to where I can't transmit or whatever. And as 3 Chevy points out, no timeshare salesman will call. In fact, no salespersons at all will call. So just head on over to AmericanPerspective.online, fill out your email and your name, click join now, and you'll join the American Perspective newsletter list. So, all right. That took me a little bit to get it going. I wanted to make sure that there was actually something, that it was functional and regular and things like that. So anyway, so there you go. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about this because, well, first, actually, before I get into tonight's show, I want to show you this. So I received it in the mail. Apparently they've got my name. I must have registered registered Republican or got onto some Republicans list or whatever. But I got sent this. Take a look at that. It's the Constitution. It's for free, but it's from Turning Point USA. Now, Turning Point, I got to tell you, it's kind of nice. I mean, it's got slick pages, and there's some things in there, like for an example here under the preamble, okay, for the Constitution. they list a definition of terms down below, and they've got that on all different pages of the of every single article and things like that. They have definitions of terms at the bottom. It's kind of cool. I mean, I'll be honest with you, for a little freebie that they send out, that's awesome. But I can tell you that this is my go-to for the Constitution. Of course, it's the leather-bound Constitution. Yeah, and there is an intro by Charlie Kirk, too, according to GEG, of course, just pop that in. There's an intro by Charlie Kirk in there as well. Where am I at where I'm not kidding? There we go. An intro by Charlie Kirk in there as well. That's great. But yeah, no offense to Charlie Kirk, but that doesn't compare to this one. Anyway, I just thought it'd be kind of nice. Now I have yet another copy of the Constitution in a different fashion. And one of the things that I wanted to see, which I was very pleasantly surprised, by the way, not that I would really don't imagine that this wouldn't have had it, but under the amendments, in particular, the Second Amendment right here, they put down here in the definition of terms, if you look at the word regulated, I know it's kind of hard to see. I'll go ahead and read it for you. But right here under regulated, it uses the terminology, the correct terminology, regulated in context as well-organized, well-armed, and well-disciplined. So, yeah, there we go. All right. So there you go. There you go. Yay. All right. Yeah, I'm excited about having another one. Not like I don't already have a bunch of them out there. But that leather one, I'm telling you, that leather-bound U.S. Constitution, Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution, you can get that at constitution.americanperspective.online to support the show. And that thing is just fabulous. It's a keepsake item, 100-year warranty, blah, blah, blah. Buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. The youngest whiskey warrior has ensured that the information contained within will get you your civics badge and scouts. Yeah, okay. All right. Plug that enough. Anyway, you can get it at constitution.americanperspective.online. All right. Okay. So we have a little bit more information about the tragedy that happened over the Potomac. First of all, I've got to, again, mention that that I personally didn't know the victims. We have a Whiskey Warrior P1 who does have a personal connection, to one of the victims. And, yeah. So unfortunately, I mean, right now it's kind of an unfortunate accident. At least that's what we're calling it at this point. We don't have any other definitive information. But that all of that being said, it was announced, shortly after the, incident occurred. It was announced that the 14 U.S. figure skaters were on board. Now I've heard that they're saying 14. I think it's actually like 6 or 7 actual skaters and their coaches, parents, so on and so forth. I've also heard that there was a complete family, like the entire family was on the plane and got completely killed, obviously, by this. So it's very sad. It's very sad. And we've apparently lost some figure skaters, some sports figures for it. They were reportedly returning from a training session / skating championships. They were there in Wichita, Kansas, or in the area of Wichita, Kansas, they were returning home from a national development camp held in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita, Kansas. And they were the 2025 Pravagan U.S. Figure Skating Championships that it was just held in Wichita from January 20th to January 26th. So, yeah. Anyway, they were flying into D.C. So, and that's where these folks had died. So, again, you know, keep them in your thoughts and prayers, their family members, as they deal with the struggle of having a family member. You know, I get on a plane. Whenever I travel, I get on a plane. I tell my wife before I leave, I text her and I'm like, hey, getting on the plane, I'm boarding it now. You know, I'll text you when I land. And I can't even imagine what would go through her mind if I didn't text at the moment that I landed. And especially she knows, I mean, I give her my itinerary before I take off or you know, before I leave for my trip. And I give her my itinerary. I just can't imagine what that would feel like to be expecting to get a text around a certain point in time when the plane lands, and that is no longer coming. So, yeah. Anyway, we have a little bit more information about the plane crash. First of all, it appears that the helicopter was actually a check ride. It was a training check ride, meaning that the pilot had a longtime instructor with over 1,000 hours in the cockpit with them, and they were doing a check ride training. Now, I'm not going to go into, there's been a bunch of photos and things like that are running around on the socials about the pilot of the helicopter and the pilot in the American Airlines. We don't know if any of them are true or not at this point, because both American Airlines and the military are trying to notify next of kin. So the last report. And so some of the pictures that you have out there and some of the stories, especially that you have out there, are potentially wrong. I'm not saying that they are wrong. I'm saying there is a potential for them to be wrong. And so we just need to, you know, exercise a little bit of caution here. But we do know this, that there was the pilot at the time, I believe, had somewhere around 500 hours in the cockpit flying, that it was a check ride, and that that particular area, by the way, is often densely populated with training flights, etc., etc. There is a possibility that the plane was not supposed to land on 33, that it was supposed to land elsewhere, and for some reason may have been diverted to 33. But there's also some suggestion that the helicopter was higher than what the approved flight plan stated. The approved flight plan had them flying below 200 feet. And it is information coming in saying that they were up at around 300 feet rather than being below 200 feet. So, yeah, and as 3 Chevy points out, that runway 33 in particular, which is why they don't use it very often, that particular runway approach is considered to be very difficult based on how many aircraft are in that particular area. You compound that with the fact that there was only one controller that was handling both airplanes and helicopters. And so, yeah, it's just, let's just call it at this point. Just keep in mind, things will change, but as of right now, I'm just going to say it was a multitude of errors. As I said last night, there isn't just one silver bullet that has brought this together. Apparently, we're also hearing from different places or different information, like Reuters. Reuters points out that there were many near misses at that Washington airport that worried a lot of pilots well before this fatal crash. So these near misses, of course, seem to be commonplace. Now, one of the reasons why they are suggesting that one of the challenges, of course, in this is that I don't think a lot of people are very aware of this, but the military and the commercial aircrafts, they operate on different radio frequencies. And in particular, they actually operate, I believe, on different bands as well. Well, the military frequencies are not, when you buy a radio, any kind of radio, when you get one of those, there are bands and frequencies that sometimes the manufacturers will not allow you to access. They won't even allow you to listen. And in the case of the military, there's also potential encryption on top of all of that. And so the two of them were not able to contact or talk to one another or even hear one another because they are on different frequencies. And so that is one of the concerns that is coming out of this particular incident, as well, is what can be done to alleviate some of that moving forward. And these are all questions, of course, that the NTSB and that the current administration are going to have to take under advisement and attempt to figure out a way to make things a lot more safe for that. But also, too, there was in this particular Yahoo News article, which I don't have up on the screen. Here we go. In this particular Reuters article, because they stole it from Reuters, it says that U.S. commercial pilot Rick Redfern was preparing to land at Reagan, Washington National Airport about a decade ago when he spotted a red Coast Guard helicopter hovering about 50 feet above the Potomac River. Air traffic control promptly warned the helicopter pilot to stay clear, and Redfern said he used evasive maneuvers to avoid it and avert a potential disaster. And he said that was in the daytime. Okay. At night, Redfern said, the light can disorient you as to what you might think you are seeing as to what you are actually seeing. So there's, again, a potential point where things might have, again, aligned just perfectly in order to make this a big challenge. According to the article, planes approaching that particular airport must navigate a precise and narrow flight path to avoid restricted airspace, because you also have the nearby White House and Pentagon in the same area. So, Redfern made a comment, or also commented and said that turn from the eastern side along the river onto one-way 33 is very, very tight, referring to the same airstrip that the American Airlines jet was heading towards before the collision. We're still unclear about what caused the crash. Of course, it's now under investigation. They did recover the black boxes from the plane, but it's going to be a few days before they can glean all of the information that they can out of it. 7 other pilots told Reuters that landing at Reagan Airport is unique due to the congested airspace, along with the inability to communicate directly with military aircraft. The airport also has shorter runways, including runway 33, which is generally reserved for smaller aircraft, one of the 7 aviators did say. So, yeah. And apparently, the planes cannot cross the eastern shoreline of the Potomac River there when approaching the airport. That same airport is also used regularly by the military for training. And as I said, it was on a military training flight. A check ride is what they call it. And it was flying at a rough altitude of about 300 feet at the time of the crash, according to Flight Radar 24 data. So more to come on this, but we're starting to get a clearer picture that there is a potential for pilot error and those kinds of things to have taken away. All right. Well, yesterday, Patel spent a bunch of time up in front of the committee. And there's a lot of takeaways from this. First of all, I just want to say that Kash Patel did I believe, a fantastic job defending himself against many of the Democrat sycophantic moron leaders who are there trying to keep him from getting into the FBI's director's chair. One of them in particular was that moron Adam Shifty Schiff, and I got a little bit on him here in a little bit. But yeah, he did a fantastic job, probably the best that I would say that anybody could. But he was questioned about a bunch of things. For an example, there's rumors running around that he has a enemies list, carrying around with him. And, the nominee repeatedly, meaning Kash, repeatedly stated that he did not intend to take such steps, including against former FBI Director Christopher Wray. Patel told Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, who's a Democrat, who asked about his past statements, saying that Wray's alleged past lawbreaking warranted prosecutions. He says, "I have no interest and no desire and will not, if confirmed, go backwards. There will be no politicization of the FBI. There will be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as the FBI director." He also told multiple senators that he did not have an enemies list. Democrats say that those identified as members of the executive branch deep state in Patel's book, titled The Government Gangsters, The Deep State, The Truth, and the Battle for Our Democracy, amount to such a list. Yeah. Nope. So the enemies list, by the way, for those that don't know that term, it comes from President Nixon's reputed list compiled by his advisor, Charles Colson, at the time, that was revealed during the Senate Watergate hearings. So, anyway, Kash Patel went up against Amy Klobuchar, made her look like a fool, but as part of that questioning, he did say that the term enemies list was a total mischaracterization of the collection of names at the end of his book. Senator Richard Blumenthal, another one, got asked whether he would fire FBI agents involved in special counsel's Jack Smith's, we call him Jackass Smith here on the show, inquiry into Trump, and Patel said every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for cases like this. Blumenthal, of course, says, I'm not going to accept that answer, because if you can't commit that those FBI agents will be protected from political retribution, we can't accept you as FBI director. And Patel immediately responded, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. So anyway, he went ahead and condemned the weaponization of justice because, of course, he was the victim of it at one point. And he points this out. He told Senator Eric Schmidt, a Republican from Missouri, there should be no politics in the FBI. Having been the victim of weaponization of law enforcement against me, I know what that feels like. Patel also told Senator Josh Hawley, who's also from Missouri and a Republican, that he would investigate a 2023 FBI memo, which has since been retracted, that was warning of alleged connections between racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists. And that was the one that was calling out traditional Catholics, meaning the ones that attend Latin Mass, as an example. In an exchange with Lindsey Graham, Kash Patel condemned Crossfire Hurricane, which, by the way, is the thing that kind of brought him into the public eye between him and Devin Nunes. But anyway, sorry, had to take a drink there. So while he was serving as the House Intelligence Committee's senior counsel, Patel drew attention to his concerns with that inquiry through his contributions to a 2018 memo alleging FBI misconduct in acquiring the FISA warrant to surveil the campaign. The memo was issued by then committee chair Representative Devin Nunes, as I pointed out. This was after Patel visited London in search of Christopher Steele, the author of the dossier opposition report. Graham described Crossfire Hurricane as one of the most disgusting episodes in the history of the FBI. He was pounded quite a bit by the commutations for the violent, quote-unquote, violent January 6th defendants. Keep in mind, there are some that were, that did have physical engagements with the police. And Kash Patel said, clearly, I do not agree with the commutation of any sentence of any individuals who committed violence against law enforcement. But he also threw out the idea that President Joe Biden commuted the very sentence of Leonard Peltier, who was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder in the slayings of 2 FBI agents at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation during a shootout in 1975. And Biden's commutation actually transitions Peltier from prison to home confinement. But anyway, he was basically trying to point out that the president's pardon power is what it is. Senator Ted Cruz pulled out, do you condemn violence against law enforcement? And Kash Patel said all of it, especially if they kill police officers. So, anyway, Patel also told Cruz, and this is a key part of this testimony. Okay. Patel was queried about January 6th in particular. And Patel consistently kept telling them, all you need to do is get the transcripts of my testimony in order to see what I said. And there was, multiple times was he queried about his positions on January 6th. But his conversation with Ted Cruz was very enlightening, because he was talking in particular about the fact that he himself was attempting to mobilize the National Guard on January 6th. Now, you recall on this program, we talked a lot about the conditions that it takes in order to mobilize the military in order to function in a civilian capacity. And I've told you about this. The Insurrection Act, the Posse Comitatus Act come into play here. And the thing about it is that Kash Patel made it clear in multiple statements that they and the president at the time, Donald Trump, were attempting to get the National Guard to help out the Capitol Police, but that the Capitol Police and the authority having the jurisdiction, meaning the mayor and Pelosi, refused that assistance. That Kash Patel states, for the record, under oath, at this committee that he tried to get the National Guard and the additional troops. The same thing with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was working with Cash at the time, that they tried to get troops, but that the law that requires a civilian authority, like I've told you on this program, most of the time it is the governor, but in the case of DC, it is literally the Speaker of the House. She didn't. And this, by the way, too, thanks for the reminder, Bonnie. This, by the way, too, was happening days before January 6th even came around. So, yeah, he set the record straight in terms of that particular piece of what happened on January 6th. So again, I maintain, as I always have, it isn't Donald Trump's responsibility. He offered up the military, but the civilian having jurisdiction, the civilian authority having jurisdiction, in this case, meaning the mayor and Nancy Pelosi, it's actually constitutionally Nancy Pelosi and hers alone, even though she, won't admit it. Well, she did on video finally when that came out. But the point being is that January 6th could have been completely avoided had Pelosi just said yes to the request to bring in National Guard troops. Now, he was questioned too, because apparently Kash Patel worked with a couple of different people here, where he created like a production of Justice for All. This was apparently an album. It was a charity record, I should say, featuring Donald Trump and the J6 prison choir, which consisted of people being imprisoned in connection with the U.S. Capitol situation. And it was released on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast. It did reach #1 on Billboard's chart for digital song sales. But he was questioned by Blumenthal about it in particular, and they were trying to get him to admit that he knew everybody in the choir. Patel obviously said, nope, I didn't know everybody. So he also, Blumenthal, this is again this is just the way that the Democrats do this. Okay. But Senator Blumenthal questioned Patel as to whether or not Julian Cotter, who was a participant in the song, she pleaded, I think it's she, could be a he, pleaded guilty to spraying pepper spray into the face of Brian Sicknick, the U.S. Capitol Police officer, who died on January 7th of natural causes, according to his autopsy. But everybody is still under the mistaken belief that this guy, this officer, died on January 6th, and the Democrats continue to push that false narrative. And so, yeah. Anyway, the biggest thing that came out, of course, with regards to this was a lot of these people, especially a lot of the Democrats, they already had their minds made up. They already had their minds made up. Dickie Durbin, dumbass Dick Durbin, told the Daily Signal that he was asked about his vote on it, and he basically said, I doubt it. I've investigated this gentleman. I've read his book twice, which is Cruel and Unusual, but I've gone through it twice. So I understand his intent. He should not be in charge of the FBI. Blumenthal told the Daily Signal that there well could be at least 4 Republicans to vote against Patel's nomination. Before the hearing, Blumenthal said that he wanted to learn from Patel whether he would commit to not use the FBI as a tool for political retribution, which, of course, I already told you he responded with that. Even though he also said that when he was asked whether he would vote to confirm Patel, if he got the response that he was looking for, and Blumenthal basically said, no, I'm still not doing it. So Blumenthal was like, yeah, I have a number of other reservations. I think right now I'm a no. I'm obviously going to listen carefully to what he says in the hearing. Yeah, he already said he's a no. Right now, his past statements, his lack of qualifications, his apparent intent to use the FBI for political retribution, certainly in the case of me, I should vote no. Okay, well, he's probably one of the more qualified people, honestly, to be nominated for the FBI. But anyway, apparently there was a bingo card that was shown. Senator Tom Tillis told the Daily Signal after he came out, but after it's Tom Tillis, by the way, is a Republican from North Carolina. He came out and said there's no question that Patel gets confirmed. Okay. But during the hearing, Tillis apparently held up a mock bingo card made up with what he considered predictable comments he anticipated hearing from the Democrats. And he basically says, I have available to any of my colleagues who might want to view it on the other side of the aisle. Some may view this as unserious caricature and not appropriate for this committee. Sadly, I consider it a serious caricature of what I expect to be witnessed today. After the hearing, Tillis told people, guess what? I scored a bingo. But he didn't show the card. Oh, that's funny. As far as other things that were on the plate, the investigation of Epstein came out, and the Senator Marsha Blackburn asked about the release of the some of the information and trying to get the records. And Blackburn said, so will you work with me on this issue, meaning that getting the records and breaking up these sex trafficking rings? And she says, will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building the sex trafficking rings? Patel said, absolutely. He followed up with, child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past. As I've already said, talked about the prison choir, the Crossfire Hurricane, etc. But here in particular, as far as the January 6th, this is grand jury testimony. So Patel had testified to a grand jury in Florida in the Trump classified documents case. Now, he has asked the Justice Department, to make his testimony public, but for some reason, the Department of Justice has been keeping it a secret. Well, you can kind of guess why, because I'm sure there's a lot of damning information in there that was going to hurt the case. Well, during the hearing, several Democrats insisted that he tell them what he told the grand jury. Now, the Justice Department obviously has dropped that case against Trump after the election is over with. Senator Cory Booker, Spartacus himself, said it would be irresponsible for us to move forward if we do not know if he lied for the president of the United States. Did he or did he not lie for the president? When questioned about that particular matter, Patel told Booker, we are in agreement, Senator. Get my grand jury testimony. I want it made public. I asked the Department of Justice to make it public, but they refused to do so. Now, this goes back and forth. Booker interrupted, of course, when Patel tried to answer, and he says, did you or did you not commit a crime? Patel says, I did not commit a crime. Booker said, then why don't you tell us what you testified to? And Patel replied, because it occurred over the course of 3 weeks. I don't have the ability to recall everything, But I'm asking you to release the transcript. Booker, of course, kept pushing, saying that did you or did you not testify to witnessing the president declassifying documents? Patel said, I testified, and accordingly under oath, and I encourage you to get that transcript. And then Booker says, you, by the law of our land, you are free to tell people what you are hiding from Congress. Well, he's not hiding anything, folks. He's just telling you, hey, I can't remember everything that I said necessarily. Get the friggin' transcript. Anyway. Now, as always, with any of these confirmations, they get asked by the Democrats about the 2020 election. And he was asked by Peter Welch, Democrat out of Vermont, do you believe the 2020 election was stolen, as President Trump says it was? Patel responded and said, my opinions on the 2020 election have been expressed in this hearing. He's entitled to whatever opinion he wants. Welch pressed, do you agree with him that the election was stolen? Patel, of course, has made comments that there have been longstanding concerns about various elections for years. He says, Senator, millions of Americans have expressed concern going back to multiple elections over election integrity. Welsh, of course, says, you're so skillful. He says, you understand what I'm asking you. Can you say the words, Joe Biden won the election? Patel responds back, Joe Biden was the president of the United States. Welsh, of course, gets pissed and said, that's not the same thing. He goes, I can say the words Donald Trump won. I don't like to say it, but I must say it. And he continues and says, you cannot say that Joe Biden won the election. Patel, of course, responds and goes, what I can say is the same for both of them. Both their elections were certified. One was, and one now is, the president. Oh, but of course, the wonderful piece of the day was going up against Adam Shifty Schiff. Kash Patel and Schiff apparently don't like each other. And yeah, it shows. So let me just show you. Oh, let me show you this video. Now, keep in mind, this is in clash over that J6 Prisoner song that I had mentioned before. So here, take a listen.
Mr. Patel, early in this hearing, Senator Durbin asked you about the January 6th choir of inmates whose song you promoted, and here's what you said. I did not have anything to do with the recording. I did not have anything to do with the recording. Do you stand by that testimony, Mr. Patel?
Senator, what I said was I didn't do the recording.
You said you didn't have anything to do with the recording, which is interesting because here's what you told Steve Bannon on his podcast. So what we thought would be cool is if we captured that audio and then, of course, had the greatest president, President Donald J. Trump, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we went to a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it out as a song now releasing exclusively on the War Room. We. If you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Patel, why did you tell Steve Bannon and all his listeners that you did?
That's why it says we, as you highlighted.
Yeah, and you're part of the we, right? When you say we, that includes you, doesn't it, Mr. Patel?
Not in every instance.
Well, that's new. So when you said we, you didn't really mean you. Is that your testimony?
Not unless you have a new definition for the word we.
Oh, okay. I always thought we included the person who pronounced the word, but maybe not. Well, you also said this, Mr. Patel. We were able to capture the recording thanks to their courageous singing, and we were able to take it to a studio. So let me ask you, Mr. Patel, after saying we took it to a studio, did you take it to a studio?
Me personally, no.
After you said that we digitized and recorded it and all that, did you take it to a studio and digitize and record it?
Me personally, no.
Okay, so you were lying to Steve Bannon and his audience. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was using the proverbial we appropriately, as you've
the
identified.
royal we. Oh, I see. And so you certainly promoted the hell out of it, though, didn't you?
I don't know what that means, but I promoted the heck out of raising money for families in need.
With promotions on social media and saying you were going to get this to #1 on the billboards, right, Mr. Patel?
I think it did.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Isn't that great? People who violently attack police have a #1 song thanks to you, Mr. Patel. That's something to be really proud of. Now,
No.
you've claimed, Mr. Patel, you didn't know about any of these people in the choir. Is that right?
I did not know about the violent offenders, and I did not participate in any of the violence in and
tell
around
me-
January 6th.
Tell me, Mr. Patel, what due diligence did you do to find out who was in the choir before you promoted their beautiful music? These people who assaulted law enforcement. What due diligence did you do?
Senator, I didn't record it myself.
So you did no due diligence before you promoted this song by these violent felons. Is that what you're telling us?
Senator, I did not record that myself.
So you're being considered for director of the FBI. And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it.
How
I've
proud you are.
never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
You
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did
Mr.
not
Patel.
make a single dime out of
It in
it.
song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that
answer. Let me
answer.
ask you this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr. Schiff,
Yes or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song with someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16
And
years
yet
in
you
government
did all
service.
these things, Mr. Patel. You can say, oh, I support law enforcement. I decry violence against law enforcement. You can say all that. It's what you did, Mr. Patel, that matters. It's what you did that matters. Well, let me ask you.
So, yeah, here's kind of the big thing about this. You notice none of this really has anything to do with the questions with regards to Patel's qualifications. They're basically trying to demonize him and utilize an emotional response in order to gain what they're looking for, which is essentially they want Kash Patel to essentially say, oh, yeah, one way or the other, either he's with that song or he's not. And as Kash pointed out, I didn't record it. Did I help promote it? Sure, because it's going money for charity. But that's it. So, yeah, look, Adam Schiff is a censured for lying, disgraced representative from the House of Representatives who got lucky because the California people, enough of the California people, seem to think that he's got some intelligence. Of course, that says a lot about some of the California people that voted for him. But anyway, yeah, he also accepted and has a pardon from Joe Biden with regards to his activities in the Russia collusion hoax and January 6th himself and so on and so forth. So yeah, Adam Schiff is Shifty Schiff. He is a censured for lying, and I'm going to call it a moron. But here's the thing. He is also evil. Okay? He is evil. In his mindset, he's going to do anything that he can to try and derail whatever it is that he can in order to get there. All right? And, yeah. I hate to tell you this, folks, but California, I'm serious. California is full. Not everybody. Please understand. Let me qualify. Not everybody in California is bad. But California, Oregon, and Washington, we have the three left coast states. They call them the left coast for a reason. We have enough people who don't pay attention, or if they do pay attention, they suck down the mainstream media Kool-Aid on all of the crap that comes out of these people's mouths. These are the same people that gave you Pramila Jayapal, that give you Senator Patty Murray, that give you now Senator Adam Schiff, that give you people like Nancy Pelosi and people like Governor Gavin Newsom. It's those kinds of people, okay? It's those kinds of people that keep getting elected. Keep getting elected over and over and over again. And yeah, this is part of the problem that we have in this country, is that nobody is paying enough attention to politics about what's going on. All right, I've only got a couple of minutes left. Not going to get to everything on my list here, but I do want to do this. Scott Jennings, once again, he is the one person on CNN that I can say, the one journalist kind of people on CNN that is out there. But you gotta like this. You gotta like this. When Scott Jennings starts talking, he seriously smacks him down. Let's go ahead and take a listen to let's go ahead and take a listen to this little exchange.
Department of Justice does not work for the president.
Yes,
the Department of Justice works for the American people.
No, it works for the executive branch. It's in the Constitution. It exists in the executive branch.
The lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people.
You're acting like it's an independent branch of government. It's in the executive branch, run by the president.
I mean, yes, but the lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people, not for the president of the United States, not the person in the office.
So you don't think anyone in the executive branch is bound to the head of the executive branch?
No. Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Okay, so that was the first part of it. Here's another part that Scott Jennings was in on.
Everything, by your logic, if you apply it to the last administration, which I don't think is the case, then if Joe Biden wanted to go after Donald Trump because he wanted to go, the Attorney General should be able to do it, and there was no.
He did go after Donald Trump because Joe Biden didn't want to do it.
He had a special prosecutor. He had
But at the order.
But then why is it wrong?
These people, they seem to believe that Joe Biden was not a part of any of this. Believe me, Joe Biden and Joe Biden's team and administration were definitely a part of everything that's been going on against Donald Trump in Georgia, elsewhere, and so on and so forth. And here is another one with regards to it.
Just criminals, they would say, "Oh, Trump is not going to do that."
They didn't believe it.
They didn't believe it. I have them on tape. I have them on tape.
I know. You have all the anecdotes. The assertion that all American voters did not know exactly what Donald Trump is going to do. Oh, they didn't think it is totally false. There was mass amount of polling during the campaign. Hispanic Americans supported deportations in majority. You and I debated this many times. Yep. You claimed it wasn't true. And then what they do? They went and voted for Donald Trump. The election results are clear. There is no buyer's remorse. The people who followed our laws and came here legally are more than happy to see the laws.
But here's what's being missed. I think this is very critical. In a vacuum, yes, majority of Americans do support mass deportation, Scott. But you have seen this also in polls. When you start telling them what that means,
illegals leaving, they support it.
No.
They support that.
Yes, they support the criminals. Let me finish. When you start telling them what that means, dreamers, veterans, teachers,
Their
first
family.
responders, their family. Then they say, you know what? These are people that have been here for 30 years. They have contributed trillions of dollars to our economy. I prefer to give them a pathway to citizenship. So you know what the solve is, Scott? In order to get rid of all of those illegals, let's give them a pathway to citizenship. That is a win-win for the economy, for us.
You're fighting the last battle. He's fighting the next one.
Oh, I love this guy. I really do. I love him. Yeah. So, anyway, Scott Jennings apparently told one of them to lawyer up. Listen to this.
Look, the first time that Elon Musk decides to declare that globalist Jews are responsible for the great replacement of brown people into the United States, maybe it was a misunderstanding. You know, the second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote, you know, that was a little iffy. By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis. I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm saying the Nazis think he's a Nazi, which they very clearly did at this event. And these words were not said in a vacuum. As you pointed out, the leaders of AfD have embraced, in many cases, the Nazi heritage. They have wanted to take down the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin, saying it is inappropriate to recognize this horrific chapter in German history. And I just think it's horrific. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting the benefit of the doubt, whether or not he believes this stuff personally.
You didn't even mention the Nazi jokes he was making on Twitter.
Yeah.
That actually got
he's been given so many chances
about it.
Yeah.
I was hearing a lot of sighing, Scott. What's the deal?
I mean, we've moved on from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement syndrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to defend his saying the Germans get to...
Let me let him finish, Catherine.
I love this game we play where you talk for 2 minutes, I talk for 3 seconds,
ahead,
and you
Scott.
freak out. So he has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sieg Heil, which I just heard you say, you know, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no circumstances.
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Under no circumstances was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three. Number three. I think it is fully appropriate, and I, of course, have been the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network for over a year, since October the 7th.
Is that true?
To remember the Holocaust and to remember the atrocities committed against the Jewish people. And I also think it's appropriate to remember the atrocities committed against them right now. And it seems to me, let me just finish my point.
No,
I
won't let you change the subject.
It seems to
Let's
me.
address what we're talking about.
I'm trying to finish my point.
As the Jew at this table,
I'm trying to finish my point.
I would say
the people who are most concerned about and most all over Elon Musk today have had nary a word for the Nazis on college campuses who've gone crazy for the last year and a half.
That is bull. That is bull.
Nothing.
I am a Jew.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, anyway, sometimes you just gotta get your entertainment somewhere. And, yeah, so there you go. Oh boy. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. If you haven't already done so, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are there, signed up and signed in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Don't forget, if you want to be part of the American Perspective newsletter subscription list, head on over to americanperspective.online, wait for about 5 seconds, and let that pop-up come up, and go ahead and enter your email address and your name. And that'll subscribe you to the list, and I'll try and get something out pretty soon about it. For those of you who are heading out, make sure you hit those thumbs up and like buttons everywhere on all of my platforms and channels, whether it is X, YouTube, Facebook, and of course the aforementioned Rumble. We'll see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're an hour later on Saturdays. We'll see you tomorrow night, and have a great rest of your evening. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media, LLC. All rights reserved.